Hi everyone, this video is going to be discussing the symbolism of light and darkness in Hitchcock's film Rear Window. So in Rear Window, light and darkness have both a fairly literal meaning as well as deeper symbolic meaning. For the most part, Hitchcock uses lighting in a really natural way in Rear Window, which is one of his clever methods of making the audience really feel like we're sitting there in Jeff's apartment, seeing exactly what he sees as he sees it. So when it's evening in Jeff's apartment, we get these sort of shadowy scenes with a bit of low lighting from maybe a lamp in his apartment or from a distant street light, or even just really low lighting from the moon. And when it's daytime, we have this really bright, warm sunlight. In fact, it's really bright yellow light, which helps us feel that searing summer heat that the characters are suffering through. Now, when it is bright daylight, Jeff, and hence the audience, can clearly see what the neighbours are up to. And similarly, at night when the lights are on and the curtains are up, he can spy on them fairly happily. Hence, light represents knowing or knowledge. Light is literally being shed on his neighbours, which means that Jeff can be informed and in the know about what they're getting up to. In contrast, when it's dark, usually at night, or when the lights are off or when the curtains are drawn, Jeff feels in the dark about his neighbour's behaviour and is forced to guess what they might be up to or make assumptions about what they're up to, which is really what drives the narrative and increases the suspense. So this is the literal use of light. When there's light, Jeff has information. When there's no light, he doesn't have that information and is forced to guess. But on a deeper, more symbolic level, darkness has lots of connotations. So in literature and film, darkness and shadow often connotes evil, immorality, ignorance, hate, and despair, whereas light, on the other hand, represents goodness, morality, knowledge, love, hope, and that's really clear in Rear Window. So in this scene here, characters are shown in partial shadow or in darkness, which creates an immediate association between them and those qualities I just mentioned of being immoral or evil. So Thorwald is frequently shown in darkness or in shadow, insinuating that his behaviour is as shadowy and suspicious as Jeff suspects. Here, for instance, we only see the minuscule glow of Thorwald's cigarette in an otherwise completely dark apartment, and that leads us to connect Thorwald and darkness, or create the association that Thorwald is evil or suspicious or dangerous. When we're first introduced to Jeff, he is in bright light. But as the film progresses, he's also frequently seen in darkness and in shadows. And usually this is by choice. For instance, when he's trying to hide so he can continue spying without anyone seeing him. But it also symbolises Jeff's gradual slide into sort of increasingly unethical or dangerous or immoral behaviour. And in several scenes you see him sort of shepherding Stella and Lisa to stick back in the shadows or to not turn on a lamp, all of which represents their gradual complicity in that sort of dark, murky shadow of Jeff's voyeurism. In this important scene, we see Jeff's face being shadowed by an ominous presence. And here Hitchcock is cleverly borrowing from the horror movie genre, playing with a trope where a shadow is frequently used as a way of hinting at an impending danger or a creeping monster. Here, Jeff is asleep, he's injured, he's vulnerable, and he's being set upon by his biggest fear, which actually turns out to be his girlfriend, Lisa, whose affection and desire to get married is Jeff's absolute worst nightmare. And this is a really clever, subversive way of using this trope of light versus dark. What Jeff perceives as an object of fear, we actually perceive as an object of love. Because Lisa is the light. She's often shot in this really soft, warm, glowing light, which not only makes her look phenomenal, it makes her synonymous, that is, it makes her instantly associated with all those things that light typically represents: morality, virtue, love, hope, innocence, and so forth. In this scene, when she's first introduced, and when she's introducing herself, she gracefully moves around the room. She switches on the lamps, which throws light onto Jeff and the apartment. She isn't this shadowy presence of Jeff's nightmares. She's a sweet, sunny, loving woman. She is a true beacon of light, and she is responsible for bringing light into Jeff's life. And this is particularly evident when Jeff begins to become really hooked on his voyeuristic habits. After a perfectly romantic moment, Jeff ruins it by wondering, just how would you go about cutting up a dead body? And Lisa, who is completely horrified, sits up and switches on a lamp, which literally and symbolically throws light onto an increasingly dark, macabre Jeff who's getting sucked into this really unethical behaviour. So her light is the balance of his darkness. Although gradually, as Lisa becomes more embroiled in the mystery, she too is more often shot in shadow as well.